What's going on, family? I'm here with my guru and mentor, Sage. He's poured so much into me. Pastor Fredrick Russell. Some of you know him from Atlanta Berean, but tell us what you're on now.
Well, I've taken a shift to fulfill a dream that I had for years, and that is to train leaders around the world, both church-based leaders and marketplace leaders or corporate leaders. And I now run my own company that does corporate training called the True North Leadership Group, where I'm the principal for that group.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And God has been blessing immensely, and I'm honored that you would take some time to be able to talk with me today. I'm going to ask one question for the people. I know that they're super excited to hear from you. The question I asked him that I was blown away by his answer is, if you could give some advice to your 27-year-old self, I'm 27 now, if you could give a piece of advice to your 27-year-old self, what would you tell your 27-year-old self?
Well, that 27-year-old self was back in the last century. but when Marcus, when you asked me that question, I was sharing with you that ironically it's a question that I asked myself on last week. So it was fresh in my mind. I think if I can speak to the 27-year-old Freddie Russell of a couple of decades ago, that the first thing I would talk about is just my walk with God. It will be much more intense than it was then. I'm at a place in life where I'm so enjoying God on a level that I never thought possible. And I do know that there's a maturation process to growing in God. It does evolve. But I would have been a lot more intentional about this walk with God than that I have now, that I did not have then. When it comes to life, I would be more invested in my growth on every level, especially my professional level, in terms of being a leader, in terms of writing, in terms of impacting. I would have been a lot more intentional with that and start developing those skills early. I've developed some of these skills later in life. I only begin to work with those skills early. But especially this thing of writing is that there's some amazing writers out there today. And your impact as a person grows exponentially when it gets past you having to be somewhere physically. And what you do goes beyond the boundaries and the borders and around the world. I would have wrote early if I had a chance to do that. I would have been a lot more deliberate in developing relationships with growing people, not only within my circle, my natural circle and my tribe, but reaching beyond my natural circle and tribe to meet people and to talk to them, to soak up the atmosphere, to tap into their hearts, their journeys. Because I have found that when you spend time with growing people, you grow yourself. But if you are hanging around people who are mediocre, you typically go to the level of your hangout with them. So I would spend a lot more time in growing myself by being around people who were growing. I think one of the bigger things that I would have told my 27-year-old self is to relax. Life is not a sprint. Life is a marathon. And sometimes, as we talked about earlier, we self-impose stress on ourselves because we have this measuring rod that we have, and that measuring rod is so incomplete. That measuring rod is relative to where you are at every stage of your growth. Yeah. And so I will relax. I would not be so self-sensitive and self-conscious and concerned about if people like me, concerned about what people are thinking about me. I've been a lot freer as to what God is thinking about me, and allow those side things to take care of themselves, because over time you discover it was a waste of time in the first place, because people are not thinking about you, they're thinking about themselves. So I would have put a lot more energy there of just going forward and just being all that I could be in Jesus Christ. But I do think that there's one more, that I would tell my 27-year-old self: beyond relax, beyond spend time with folk who are growing, beyond writing, beyond developing myself, beyond, not beyond, but in addition to my walk with God. And that would be taking more time to spend with friends. Understanding that the spice of life is developing a circle around you and a community where you can enjoy each other as friends, not as competitors, colleagues, not as someone else I've got to get beyond. And because it ends up being a waste of time when you're not in competition with anybody. You're not even in competition with yourself. You're just trying to be, as Joel Osteen says in his book, living your best life now.
Living your best life now.
And
yes,
now
sir.
is a series of nows. Because what I have discovered over the long haul is that every season of life is your best season of life. Every season can be your best season if you orchestrate your life in such a way. And I know that now. If I had known that then, I think we're a lot further up the road. That's what I would have told my 27-year-old self.
Thank you.
In the last century.
Now, can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
One more question. This is the bonus exclusive because we only said one question. But the other question I want to ask is to kind of dovetail off what you said. You talked a lot about growing and being in the growth process and always learning, surrounding yourself with people that you can learn from. Do you think that there's ever a moment or a time where the learning ends? And how, for those who are feeling like they're boxed in, like they're stagnant, or looking for opportunities to grow, how can they continue to be in the growth process continually?
In a word, no. There's never a time when you cap out in your growth, in your learning. Life at its best is continuous learning and continuous improvement.
So you're still learning, even
I'm still
in
learning.
this century.
I'm still
in
learning.
This century.
In this century.
In this, okay.
And in this day, and tomorrow I'll keep on learning.
Okay.
Because we are connected with the creator of the universe.
Yeah.
And there's always so much more. He's going to download into us. And I think that you die on the day that you stop growing. For those who feel that they have capped out and trying to get off of dead center, where they feel stuck. Those are my words. The best way to start growing is to start growing. And the best place to start is by reading. Because a leader is a reader. And those who read can read themselves in the change. They can read themselves in the growth. Most people stop reading after they leave college. If they go to college, they stop reading. They very rarely read books again. But those who read can go places that they cannot go physically. They can learn things. They can access information that is out there waiting to be accessed. And the place to start is start reading and getting around people who do read, who would inspire you to be your best self and your growth self.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one more question.
Sure. This is the bonus on top of the bonus.
This is the bonus on top of the bonus, the exclusive bonus.
Yes.
You talk a lot about, you use the phrase that nothing happens.
Nothing just happens.
Nothing just happens. Can you talk a little bit about what that means and how we can apply that to our lives?
That is the spiritual organizing principle of my life. Some years ago, I heard a powerful sermon called "Nothing Just Happens," and it was taken from the life of Ruth and Naomi. That when a husband and father died, her two daughter-in-laws, that their husbands died, they were in a tragic state. But two women went off by themselves, back home, as it were, and God began to do amazing things out of a time of abject pain and loss and not sure what the future holds. Stuff began to fall in place that they thought was happening circumstantially, but God and his workings began to show them that he was orchestrating all of that to remind them that nothing just happens. Every relationship, everybody you meet, every experience you have, both positive and not so positive, God uses it all. He is constantly building a matrix out of your life. And if I settle and focus on one aspect and think that's it, I'm going to lose everything else God is doing in our lives. So therefore, I think we all stay open to whatever I go through, whatever I experience, whoever you meet, whatever you get a chance to do. Nothing just happens. God always is working and angling it to an ultimate outcome of his choosing, which ends up benefiting you every time.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Thank you so much. I know you have such a busy schedule, True North leadership, and all the work that you're doing all around the country and all around the world. I pray God's blessing over your life and your ministry. And I appreciate you pouring into me today and pouring into all of us. For all of us, hit like, double tap, share with your friends, share with your family. And I pray that this is a blessing to you. Take care.